high-tech oils, available from Auto One, Sprint Auto Parts, and all leading independent auto stores.
On today's show, the fast and furious action from round 6 of the Shannon's Nationals continues from Phillip Island with the Super 6 touring cars, Australian Sports Racer Series and the IROC Challenge. Then we're back to Wakefield Park Raceway as the Swan Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship intensifies with all the two-wheeled warriors of Supersport. This is Speedweek. Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. It's one of the most recognisable racetracks in the world. And this weekend, it's home to the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. Round 6 of the Nationals is a mix of young and old, featuring the door-to-door battles of the Super 6 touring cars, the sleek, stealthy wings and slicks of the Australian Sports Racer Series, and the retro gladiators of the IROC Challenge. Young lions and powerful stalwarts alike draw battle lines and dive headfirst into vehicular warfare. Round 6 of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals is back at Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit here in Victoria. It's round 5 of the Dial Before You Dig Australian Super 6 touring cars here today. 27 cars have qualified for this Holden versus Ford, but 6-cylinder class here today. Richard Craill joins me, and well, Gricey is starting to climb his way up the field here.
Yeah, I think a little bit of pressure perhaps for Gavin Ross, Matt Nolte. He still leads the championship though from Ashley Jarvis and Harley Phelan. But there's a change in the wind in Super 6 touring car racing in the form of a brand new model next year, and Ian Chivvis will tell us more about it.
Flying the Ford flag this weekend in the Super 6 touring cars is Ian Chivvis and his brand new BA Falcon. Going head-to-head with Holden is no easy task, but Chivvis believes his new weapon will bring about a closer rivalry than ever before.
The previous Falcons all ran a fixed axle rear end. These have got an independent rear end, the same as the Commodores. We found the Commodores have a little bit of an advantage in that area, so that is going to make the cars a little bit more competitive in the Falcon side. They're running a 6-speed Tremac gearbox, which we've had issues with gearboxes, so we're looking at things to make it work better and more reliability. We're running the twin-cam VA engine, and we've got a Petter's suspension kit, which is an adjustable kit. It'll have the same sort of driving aspects as the Commodore, but again, we're carrying a bit of weight, so we've got to compensate for that. It's basically a package that's going to make a progression for the category to be more recognisable. It's a great category that I think's been around, especially here in the Shannon Series, since its inception. It's been a fantastic category as a national category, and it should always be a national category. It needs a place to race, and people will see it to race, and it's a great part of this series. I think once we've got the parity right, we'll see a lot of close racing as we see now. It's not going to change that in any way, shape or form. There'll always be Commodore versus Ford. It's not going to be one or the other, but from my side, hopefully it's going to be a Ford.
Getting set for race number 2 here of the weekend, and Ben Grice will start from pole position after collecting his 7th straight race win of this year's championship.
It's been an unbelievable run of form and has a couple of people pretty nervous about his rapidly increasing position in the championship standings. Gavin Ross goes from 2nd, Lindolf from 3rd. Race 1 Saturday evening in the twilight here at Phillip Island was one of the great Super 6 races. An unbelievable fight, and Gricey scraped home by 0.5 of a second. Can he do the same in this one, having missed out on pole position earlier in the weekend? We're underway. It's Grice and Ross. Commodores on the front row. In fact, Commodores filling the first 3 rows of the grid here at Phillip Island. It's a good start from Ross. He's left of screen, running down into turn 1, but Grice has got the inside line.
It was a game of chicken, wasn't it, down to turn 1? The championship leader wasn't going to let the lead go, but he had to in the end. Kick of the dust up on the outside the curb at turn 1, but Gricey will lead us through. We've got a car off in the dirt. Hope it doesn't come back on and spear the field. and just regains his composure down there in the field. We're on board with Chris Lillis as he goes side by side with Kearns.
Tony Ordino, that was, just having the big moment on the exit of turn 1. It's a good run from Lillis. Down into turn 4, that heavy stop. Travis Lindorf on the outside. He's a form driver. Great new livery on that car. The Pakenham Tyres number 51 entry. The double champ. Lindorf looking up the inside, which turns into the outside for Siberia. He's in the mix too. It's a Commodore domination at the front.
And already the mirror's folded back on Kearns' entry here. Side by side through Siberia. Plenty of dust being kicked up. That will happen all race long. It's Ash Jarvis ahead in that Lighthouse Electrical number 22.
Isn't Tabernaur looking racy, and there's a bit of a fight going on just behind them. Gary Hills, the West Australian. Great to see a big WA contingent over here. The Performance West Commodore slides up the inside at Lukey Heights and gets a spot. Look at Gricey backing it into MG. He's in the lead, but he's still pressing on.
Tabernaur just pulled the car up in time. The number 14 Selby.com entry. Here's Brent Edwards trying to hustle his way through the field in car 18, the DPS Enterprises. He's on the outside of John McCleverty here. He'll have to slide back into the draft and use the slipstream on the main straight.
Some side-by-side racing through the final corner. Oh, Tabernaur. Big moment. Exit turn 12. Couple of wheels off. Lucky to gather it up. Let's go back and have a look at what happened down at MG. Trav Sharp to the back of Postlethwaite in the VT.
Lots of battles right through the field, which is pretty common in the Dial Before You Dig Australian Super 6 Touring Car Series. We've seen it all season long. I don't recommend this side-by-side action around the back towards the Hayshed and Lukey Heights, though.
King on the outside, Lindorf on the inside too. Great exponents of Super 6 and saloon car racing, and Lindorf should wrestle that position away. King's got the racing line down the inside. Lindorf will have track position now for the left-hander at turn 11 and grabs the spot, but this is now a freight train of 6. Good battle. Still side by side, Lindorf and King on the outside. It's great to have Wayne back in the category. Hugely experienced in these cars and so successful.
How about an old-fashioned drag race down the Gardner Straight here? Let's go 3 wide. And why not? Come on, let's get a 4th car in here. Let's make it interesting, guys.
Tabernaur's going to get 2 here because he's on the racing line and gets track position. He gets 2 positions in 1 move. Great move, Simon Tabernaur.
Everyone likes a good special, don't they? 2 for 1. This is on board with Ash Jarvis. Terrible, wasn't it? That's Grant Johnson on the inside in car 2. Great to have Grant back in the field. And Ash Jarvis just knocking on the back door, going, come on, dude, let's hustle.
Bunt drafting, Super 6 style. Last lap of the motor race. Sam Lee, that was the Sydney sider off the road, down at MG. And this squabble continues. Jarvis still under pressure from Grant Johnson.
I think it's the best way to describe a squabble. Oh, Ash Jarvis, he's done some dirt track racing in the past, but he doesn't want to be doing that at Phillip Island on the exit of Honda. He's got dirt and muck all over those tyres as Grant Johnson looks racy here to get past him in car number 2.
Oh, this is great stuff. Out in front, Grice has checked out. He's cleared away in front from Gavin Ross while these guys squabble for the minor positions. And Simon Tabernaur holding off his fellow Victorian in the Pakenham Tyres orange and silver VT Commodore. It's been a Holland domination this weekend at Phillip Island so far, but Grice out in front. And what a performance this has been. Against the strongest field of the season by miles, he continues to perform at an extraordinarily high level.
The only car in the 149s all race long, and Ben Grice says, somebody stop me in race number 2 of this weekend's Dial Before You Dig Super 6 touring cars, and he is dominating this year.
Les Small, who's helping run this car, will be very, very pleased with that very mature drive by the young man from the Gold Coast. Look at this fight for the minors. Biggest field of the year, 27 cars, and he could be guaranteed the fight for 27th, every bit as competitive as the one for first. Grice, Ross and Tabernaur the top 3, Lindorf 4th, King, Hills, Jarvis and Johnson rounded out a very competitive top 8.
We made some changes to the Glenmore Park Plumbing Home Transport Commodore overnight, and it really handles a lot better and can get through the high-speed corners a fair bit better. And thanks to Les Small, made those adjustments, and we led it from start to finish.
Well, 2 races down, Matt Nolte in the Dial Before You Dig Australian Super 6 Touring Car Series. Ben Grice is 2 from 2. Can he sweep his third round in a row? That's the big question heading into race 3.
I'd have to say yes, because apart from not getting pole position, nobody has got near him for the past 3 events. He'll start alongside Gavin Ross, Simon Taberner and Travis Lindorff amongst the first couple of rows here as we get set for the green flag to be waved at the back. And all hell is about to break loose here at Phillip Island.
Ashley Jarvis was in the thick of it in race 2. I think he will be in race 3 as the leading AU Falcon on the grid. Johnson to his left, Wayne King in front. Might be passed before he gets to turn 1 though. And look at the massive field. Down into 1. Lillis, busy. But Gricey gets the jump and leads down into 1.
Oh, who's that spearing off and kicking up the dirt?
It's all good, he's fine.
Every time we jumped on board with Lillis today, he's been in the thick of it. And again, it still happens. A Cachet Holmes entry, 64. But a car on the inside of him as everybody is safe through turn 1 and 2 and out of Southern Loop.
So the field sorts themselves out. Grice has gone. Big margin out in front. And Gavin Ross really aggressive under brakes and has a big slide on entry to turn 4. He's under some pressure from Travis Lindorff. So Ross can continue to score championship points, but he needs to keep in the back of his mind the final round at Wakefield Park in mid-October is worth double points. So this championship not done and dusted just yet.
The wildlife clear out of town because Ben Grice is bringing his angry pack of Super 6 touring cars to the top of Lukey Heights. On lap number 1 of race 3 today, Ash Jarvis trying to cut his way back through the field. He's got Grant Johnson ahead, the V8 Utes legend. Across the top. Oh, hear the chatter of the brakes and the tyres down here at MG.
Ashley Jarvis has had a remarkably consistent and really solid season, and that's why he's currently second in the standings. And before this round, hadn't finished outside the top 4 in 7 races. Had a really strong run through the middle of the season and just accumulating points in that Lighthouse Electrical AU Falcon. Might not have the outright pace to go with the championship leader and the flying Ben Grice, but he's certainly got the consistency. Lindorff and Ross, nose to tail, down into turn 1, the pair of Commodores.
The margin Grice has got already, it's out to 1.5, possibly 2 seconds to watch defending champ and points leader Gavin Ross, who's got a fairly lengthy margin in the championship, and he knows if Ben Grice continues, we are in for a barnstorm of a final later this year. Oh no, Mark Primer's gone off here at turn 1.
I hope he dialed before he dug into the sand. That's a big place to have an off too. High speed in any kind of car. So the fight continues all the way through the field. Yellow flag and safety car here at Phillip Island.
Ben Grice won't like this, and thankfully that gravel trap, let me put on the recent past.
Oh,
and
what happened there?
The 50 of Brad Bowley going off the track as well, the West Aussie. We're back at the restart now, and Ben Grice holds his way down to turn number 1. He's already got a margin on Gavin Ross.
Yeah, well judged restart, controlled the field coming out of turn 12, and then as the leader gets to decide when to go, and he jumped and went. And you'd think the restart was the big opportunity. It was a little bit wide going into the Southern Loop, and Ross had a real big look. It's great to see his young family here this weekend. Remember back at Sandown, the opening round, he was on baby watch and we thought he might have to duck away, but managed to get the round in, and that really set up his championship defence. Chris Lillis still involved in all the action. Grant Johnson in front. Ash Jarvis getting hip and shouldered out of the way in the Falcon.
Oh, and Jarvis bringing some of the dirt track experience, as I said, in race 2 into race 3 today, banging doors for the Cachet Holmes entry.
I'm surprised Lillis' side mirror is still straight. And
exactly.
Usable. That's just not usual in Super 6 touring car racing.
They're pre-folded.
Oh, exactly right.
The top of Lukey Heights, they come again. Travis Lindorff leaning right in front of our camera here.
Cool helmet.
Great artwork, isn't it?
Pressuring the defending champion, Gavin Ross, who's been so good for the last 3 or 4 seasons in Super 6 touring car racing, coming out of Vic State level racing into the national scene. There's Brent Edwards. He's worked his way back through the field in the DPS and Truck Phones Falcon. Run out of the same garage as Ben Grice's Commodore. A little bit further down the field this weekend, but he's been another driver just accumulating the points and holding down a really solid top 5 position in the championship. The battle for second not done. Start of the final lap. And Lindorf having a real big go at Gavin Ross.
He had 2 race wins earlier this year at Sandown. That's the last time we saw Lindorf. And back into the championship he is, in car 51, that beautiful livery, Pakenham tyres on board. Almost, you could say, the home round for Lindorf here this weekend.
He did win a non-points round at Mount Panorama at Easter against a massive field. State level event, but a lot of the national competitors were there and Lindorf showed what he was capable of. One notable driver not in that field that weekend was Ben Grice, and I wonder if it might have been a different story had the Queenslander been there, because he has been the dominant driver in this season. If it wasn't for the fact the start of his year was so wretchedly horrible, the story in the championship might be very, very different. But only one top 10 finish in the first 6 races. Since then, he has not lost. Ben Grice, and he's about to win 9 in a row.
It's about 3 seconds now back to these guys, second and third position. They climb Lukey Heights for the final time. Wayne King sitting back there in the Morpeth Vale Garage entry in 4th position. But Ben Grice is going to be unstoppable, you'd think, with just 2 turns remaining.
Big moment for Gary Hills over Lukey. He's holding off a really big battle pack for 6th through to about 10th place. Here's Lindorf just trying for one last roll of the dice on Gavin Ross for 2nd and 3rd. But what about this performance by the Commodore driver out in front? Ben Grice, his 3rd round win in a row, his 9th race win in a row, and he is still in championship contention with a clean sweep again at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit.
3 seconds in the end as Ash Jarvis goes 3 wide on the main straight here, gets home for 7th just behind Grant Johnson and ahead of Chris Lillis. And more battles going on even after the checkered flag. But Ben Grice, another clean sweep this weekend. Gavin Ross 2nd, Lindorf in 3rd back to Wayne King, Gary Hills, Grant Johnson, Ash Jarvis and Chris Lillis rounding out the top 8.
We're running out of places to put those race win stickers on the side of the Hon Transport Glenmore Park Commodore. It's a good problem to have, but like we didn't think it was possible. As working his butt off, we both worked really hard to get the car better and better, and we got back to the front for the races.
So with 1 round to go in the dial before you dig Super 6 Touring Car Series, Gavin Ross has a commanding lead out in front, but with double points on offer at Wakefield Park, anything can happen, and Ashley Jarvis and Ben Grice remain in contention.
Really looking forward to that one. Gricey on a roll here in the dial before you dig Super 6 Touring Car Series. We're off to a break, but don't go anywhere. The Australian Sports Racer Series comes up right after this.